This is the KORG Polysix. Released in 1981, this vintage polyphonic synthesizer was originally built around the idea of being a budget alternative to the far more expensive and premium polysynths like the Sequential Prophet 5 or some of the Oberheim models. It was also released around the same time as the Juno 6 and 60, acting as a sort of competitor to these Roland polyphonic alternatives. It is also my choice for my very first vintage synthesizer. First one I will ever own. Despite always seeming to live in the shadow of its neighbouring Juno competitors, there were really two main reasons why I chose the Polysix over my first choice, the Juno 106. For one, it utilises VCOs rather than DCOs, and don't get me wrong, while I have nothing against digitally controlled oscillators, I'll always just prefer that warmer, more raw sound you can get out of voltage control ones, you know? And while some might see it as a negative, I actually prefer the more temperamental, unstable nature of VCOs. I think it adds some unique character to the sound that's quite hard to digitally replicate. The other reason was, of course, its fantastic analog effects section. While the Juno chorus certainly sounds great, I think the combination of the Polysix's 3 inbuilt effects really give it a run for its money, especially its ensemble effect, which has got to be like the best sounding onboard synth effect ever. I swear, I absolutely love it. Anyway, once the synth arrived, I immediately opened it up, because the Polysix is plagued with a fairly critical issue where the internal NiCad batteries will begin leaking thanks to 40 years of use. And for some reason, the designers at KORG decided to place this battery right on top of the Polysix's critical CPU board, which I guess I can't blame them. They probably weren't considering how healthy the electronics would be 4 decades down the track. I doubt they really care. In any case, this means if the leak is bad, the board might be totally wrecked, meaning you'll have to find an expensive aftermarket replacement, and we wouldn't want that. But after looking inside, I was bloody relieved because the damage from the battery is minimal. In fact, I damn near lucked out big time. It really looks like it was only just starting to leak. Another year or two and this board might have had battery acid leaking all over the bloody place. Like, I've seen pictures of how bad this can get, and believe you me, it is not pretty. Anyway, before ripping it out, I just wanted to check if the synth actually works. But looking at the state of the synth as a whole, I think it should work fine though, because frankly, this thing is in excellent physical condition. Or at least I thought it would, but despite being close to perfect, it sounds like at least one of those voices is faulty for some reason or another. Bugger. Another look at the board responsible for the synth's voices, and thankfully it's pretty clear which voice is faulty thanks to these little LED diodes which show which voice is live. And there, voice 5 is at fault. The question is why? My hope was it would be one of these 2 chips that were the issue, because there's no way I felt like taking out a second PCB to play around with individual soldered parts. To check if it was one of these ICs, I started by swapping the 2044 filter chip with its neighbouring one from voice 6 to see if the problem moved. And lo and behold, it did! I really am just mad lucky with this thing, aren't I? But before worrying about the filter chip, my first priority was the battery. And to replace it, I'll need to take out the board in question. You think that would be the easy part, but those cheeky designers at KORG had a few tricks up their sleeves to make sure that wasn't the case. First of which was the liberal slavering of glue they placed on all the sockets, meaning getting them out involved surgery with a knife and screwdriver to get them unstuck without breaking all the connections. Fucking ass, what the fuck? Well, that was annoying for sure. The only other thing I had to do was unscrew it. And while the first one came out no problem, the same could not be said for the other 3. Damn it. Oh my fucking god. You've got to be fucking kidding me. They put fucking Loctite in these? Oh my god. Oh my. Yes! Get the fuck out of there. Come on. Jesus fucking Christ, get out. Yes. Ugh. So, in the short span of half an hour, I managed to take out 7 plugs and 4 screws. Talk about speed. Anyway, after taking it down to the workshop, I soldered off the battery, which really just looks like it's full of dirt, and also removed this capacitor and resistor which had to go for the battery replacement. And in another stroke of luck, that capacitor also just happened to be the only one on the board that was leaking. How convenient is that? I gave the contacts a good scrape and brush to keep it nice and healthy before popping in the new lithium-ion battery. Non-rechargeable, but it'll last like 10 years before needing replacement, so I'm not fast. And after assembly and turning it back on, the patch memory function seems to be working as intended, meaning the repairs are all in order. Very good. But we're not done, no, because we've got a filter chip to replace. Here's the reissue chip I got for the 2044, the 2144, and here's it all soldered together. Now all that's left to do is pop out the old one, chuck in the new one, and... So a couple hours later, and we've got this new and improved assembled chip. This is why we always check our schematics and buy multiple of every part, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, this one should work fine, and after plugging it in... Bingo! Works like a charm. Sounds a little off, but that's nothing some fine tuning on the trim pots won't solve. Sounds fantastic. Well, now that that's done, let's do a quick feature breakdown. This is the KORG Polysix. As the name might suggest, this unit has 6 voice polyphony, with 1 oscillator per voice. Six. It's got 4 play modes, including a poly mode, where you can play all 6 of the voices individually with each note. It's got a unison mode, which plays all 6 of the voices monophonically at the same time, slightly detuned. Makes a good lead. It's got a chord memory mode, so if we go back into poly mode and play a chord, if we hit chord memory, it saves it. And lastly, it's got an arpeggiator mode, so if we can be in any mode we want, let's say poly or unison, we hop into arpeggiator mode and play a chord. Plays through 1 note at a time. Speed can be adjusted via this knob. It's got a latch which allows the pattern to be held even after we let go. It's off. We have to keep holding the note down. It's got 3 pattern settings, including up, down, and up, down. And lastly, it's got a range setting, ranging from 1 octave, 2 octaves, and full, which just repeats the pattern the full length of the keyboard. Now, for the sound control features, we can start on the left with a global fine tune knob, which tunes up and down to about 1 semitone. We have a knob which changes the range of the pitch bend wheel. This can be anywhere from about a couple semitones, a full octave, or nothing at all. For the VCO section, we have an octave switch, which transposes the keyboard up or down 1 octave. We have 3 waveform options, including a sawtooth, which is what you're hearing now. We have a square wave, or pulse width, the duty cycle of which can be adjusted through this second knob. And we have pulse width modulation, whose intensity and speed can be adjusted with the second and third knob here respectively. For each VCO, we also have a sub-oscillator with 3 options, including off, 1 octave down, or 2 octaves down. In the filter section, we have our cutoff knob. Mine's a bit dodgy and sounds a bit wobbly. Might need a new pot. We have resonance. We have a knob to adjust the impact the envelope generator has on the filter. And we've got keyboard tracking, which just adjusts the intensity of the filter in respect to how far up the keyboard we play our notes. Under that, this synth's got a simple envelope generator with full ADSR, attack, decay, sustain, release. As you can see, the attack trim pot can be set quite high, so we've got a pretty good range there, which is the same for both the decay, sustain, and release. Next, we've got a simple attenuator, where we can boost the signal, or attenuate it. We can have the attenuator triggered by either the envelope generator, or just by trigger, whenever a key is hit. It's got a single LFO. The LFO can be set to be on at all times with this level knob. The frequency is adjusted here. The LFO can be routed to adjust either the VCO, VCF, or VCA. Aside from being always on, the intensity can be adjusted on the fly with the mod wheel. Or you can have the LFO set on delay to trigger a certain time after a key is pressed. Over here we have the programming section. The Polysix can hold 4 banks of 8 programs for a total of 32 possible saved patches. The banks can be selected here, which cycles through each list of 8 here. We can save a new program, let's say to bank B, by first engaging write mode and dialing a new patch while on manual mode. That'll do. Next, we hold down the write button and select the program we want to save to, program 1. Now if we exit write mode and go back to one of our other save patches, we have these, and we have this one on bank 2, the one we just saved. Last but not least, we have the effects section. This element is really what makes this synth for me. It's got 3 effects, all mono. Starting with a chorus. The chorus speed can be adjusted by this knob. Second is a phaser. The speed is also adjusted by this knob. And finally we have the ensemble effect, my personal favorite. For this effect, the knob adjusts its intensity, not speed. Absolutely beautiful. Let's listen to some sounds.
Wow.